All right. So, how's it going, guys? All right. Thanks everyone for being here. My name is Andrew Kaplowitz. I'm the Climate and Energy Justice Lead at Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice. Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice has been doing environmental justice work for 30 years in the city of Detroit. That's like a lot of different things. Right now we're focused on public health. So that means asthma. Detroit has some of the highest rates of asthma of anywhere in the country. Lead poisoning. Detroit is also really high up on that list of lead poisoning. And cardiovascular disease. And that can be impacted by everything from the foods that we're eating to having gas appliances in our houses. And because of that, and because we know that a lot of the health issues that Detroiters are facing is because of the built environment, which is a term that basically just means the places we live that aren't the natural world. So any buildings, factories, roads, stuff like that. We know that that has impacts on our health. So that's the link between the built environment and environmental justice.
Excuse me, Andrew.
Yeah.
Is there any way you can turn the volume up maybe a little bit?
Is this a little bit better?
Anything will help.
Is this any better?
A little bit. Okay. If no, that's okay. But
I can try and move the computer closer too. I don't know. No, it's too wired in. All right, so we're just gonna have to talk loud in person here and kind of shout into this mic. Thanks for your patience with all this, especially with the technical stuff. This is our first time running this program, so we're gonna be figuring it out all together. But I've been really excited doing intakes with everyone. I think that people have a lot of different complementary skills. We have people who have a lot of different ranges of experience who are doing this program. So this is as much all the participants teaching each other as it is any of the experts. The way it's set up is there's going to be experts who come in and basically run a session. They'll do a presentation on a given topic for the next 4 nights. And then we ask that everyone does, 32 additional hours basically of some type of work. And that can look like actually getting a job and doing it on the job, doing some shadowing or something like that. It could look like going through a general contractor training program. It could look like getting another certification, whether that's lead inspection or something else that makes sense for your business, right? Because what we want to do is remove barriers from you getting the jobs to do the work in the built environment here in Detroit. So with that said, I think it makes sense to just start with introductions. Like I said, my name is Andrew. I've been coordinating this program. And yeah, I'll just pass it around the room here, and then we'll go and do introductions online. And basically, if you just want to introduce yourself, your names, and a little bit about maybe your areas of experience, and then something you want to learn.
I'm Zach LaRiviere. I run Thunderbird Custom Services, which is a fledgling contracting company that I kind of just started as I moved down here in Detroit. But I've been working in the city for about 3.5 years now with a group called We Are Culture Creators, who activates space and buildings for young Black and Brown artists. And so a lot of the work that I do specializes in refurbishing these land bank homes that we buy for the purpose of doing exactly that. And so something that's important to me that I'd like to gain from being a part of this program is learning more about lead and asbestos removal and abatement, mold removal and abatement, and also foundation work because of a lot of failing foundations here in the city as well, and a lot of those vintage homes.
Dwayne Walton, Walker Construction here. Basically, general contractor, been in construction over 35 plus years now. So just basically here to get a certification in asbestos and just pretty much keep the company rolling and getting more knowledge on this engine renewal. Engine, I got a tongue twist, energy renewal. That's basically what's going on.
All right, my name is Eddie Davis. I am, my background is owner's rep, so in GC. So I don't really get my hands dirty in the sense I'm more or less representing the owner on a project with their contractors, architects in the city or wherever that we're building at. So that's my background. I've been doing that for about 4 years now. And I'm trying to get some more experience on or certification stuff on the lead abatement, the asbestos removal, those sorts of things, so that we can offer that in services and know exactly what, when I get on those sites with the owner, like he said about Detroit, some of those land bank homes and things like that, commercial facilities that have lead and mold removal. I've worked on a few of those sites, and I was the junior person on the project, so looking forward to getting the certification so I can be a lead on that.
I'm Mike Walker. I represent AHC. I'm a home inspector assessment auditor. DWJ is one of my clients here. I hire contractors to do work in some of the land bank homes as far as removal and things like that. And we have roofs, gutters, windows, foundations, sewage problems and things like that. I'm here to get my GC certification, just because I need to hire some people because we're lacking a lot of people with experience.
Correct.
So, yeah. So I'm trying to.
All right. Philip, do you want to go first and introduce yourself?
Take yourself off. You're on mute.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Philip Caldwell. I represent the Caldwell Group Planter Train Development. I'm actually here looking to gain skills as it relates to budgeting for projects, how to do bids, estimates, cash flow statements. In the end, I want to obtain I'm looking to obtain my builder's license. I've been in real estate here for a lot of years, so I'm just trying to cross over and start to do our own individual projects.
And what are your current areas of focus?
My areas of focus, you mean as far as the neighborhoods in Detroit or district?
In terms of the work you're doing right now.
Okay, so right now we're rehabbing homes. We're basically taking structures, and we have a vacant property campaign. So what we do is we go through neighborhoods and just tidy up homes. And then also I used to work with University of Michigan for community action against asthma. And so what we did was we went door to door. Most of the neighborhoods were in places where there were truck stops. And so we went door to door and basically canvassed families whose children had asthma, and the University of Michigan actually paid for all their treatments and then gave the family a stipend.
Awesome. Thank you, Philip. And all right, how about Realty Pro Management?
Yeah, how you doing? My name is Lucas Johnson. Realty Pro Management is my company. I've been in real estate for about 20 years, maybe. Mostly just purchasing, investing, rehabbing. I used to be a realtor, but I enjoyed investing and being a landlord a little better than being a realtor. But I'm here to learn more about the asbestos, lead abatement, just things that will actually improve the health, the overall health of customers of properties, renters, trying not to get any fines or lose money investing in the wrong ventures. Because most of these properties that are in the city in which we invest in heavily are so old, you run into a little bit of everything. And it's just so much of that stuff that's in homes that people really don't even know, from ceiling tiles to floor tiles to you name it. But yeah, just here to learn everything that I can learn, and in the overall aspect, pretty much. Maybe add a little value to somebody else also.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucas. Ashton Bennett.
Hey, y'all, good afternoon. My name is Ashton. I'm a lead contractor here in the city of Detroit. Originally from Mississippi. I've been here for going on a year now. Formerly a mortgage broker. Now working as a contractor now. I'm getting my hands dirty and getting out in the field, working with different daycare centers, as well as different investors who are property owners and completing inspections right now. What I plan to get from the program, hopefully, some connections as well as oversight as to what to do for us bidding and doing business with the city, and hopefully connected with other contractors as well. And that's about it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashton. How about Terrell?
I'm here. Yeah, this is Terrell Dixon with Presidential Construction Inc. Licensed, bonded, and insured company based out of Detroit. We tend to work with a lot of municipalities and government jobs as well. With the city of Detroit, Oakland County, Dearborn, and several others, Wayne County as well. And we do residential work as well with the private homeowner sectors. We're doing specializing full rehab, specializing in roofs, sewer repairs, replacements, and camera and sewers, trash outs, demolition. And we invest into real estate a little bit also, and just like to be able to be a vessel in the program and learn as well. I look to seek different mentorship, guidance as we look to grow, to take the learning curve away some, as to we look to reach another plateau, add another comma to the tax bracket, maybe 2 commas for the year over with. That'll be nice. Look to also help him with the character, not so much the character, but also help with the need of what it is to make the living arrangements a lot more healthier and better for the residents of the state as well. Look to do something more so in asbestos as well, but want to take that solar learning opportunity also that you guys had available. So energy efficient and awareness. So
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And now we've got some phone numbers, folks who called in. 313 area code ending in 90. Say hello.
Good evening, everyone. This is Marja Farrow, and I'm from Farrow Group Demolition. And I'm one of the presenters this week, but just wanted to join tonight to get a better idea of who the class participants are and what you are hoping to learn so that I can tailor my presentation accordingly. Good to be here.
Thanks, Marja. All right. And now 248 area code ending in 41.
Hey there, Andrew. This is Eunice Gant from HFG Real Estate Investment Services. I'm so happy to be a part of this program. I'm a real estate investor. I've been investing for over 15 years. Came back to Detroit from Atlanta to be a part of the revitalization. I have done flips, and I'm still doing flip opportunities. I do buy and hold. I've worked for a major hedge fund as a project construction manager for them, and was part of over 600 flips. So I know a lot about construction, And we've always been very strong on doing rehabs that are, for healthy, whether they're tenants or whether we're selling the properties. We are excited about giving our people a very good experience and a very safe and clean experience. So this really tied in to my mission personally. And so I'm ready to move to the general contractor level. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eunice. Doug,
You're
does anyone? Oh, go ahead.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Amanda, I see you. Your name is in the meeting, but I don't see you on our screen. So Amanda is our first presenter for this call. Amanda, like I said, can you hear me? I'm gonna try and give her a call.
Which way the restroom you say was?
Restroom's behind this wall.
Oh,
Yeah, there's two actually.
okay.
Either way. Thank you, y'all. Hey, Amanda. I am having a hard time seeing you on the screen. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, you want to just join as a participant? You should have all the permissions. Okay. Awesome. All right, so Amanda, were you able to hear all those introductions?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you didn't hear the introductions?
No.
Oh. Well, I won't make everyone repeat themselves.
Yeah, I was like, don't. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But so can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then if you want to dive into your presentation, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Amanda Graminga, and I work in the Chicago area with a nonprofit called Elevate, and we do a lot of programs that complete home repair, especially for low-income residents of kind of Chicago and Cook County, as well as upgrades around like health, energy efficiency, and even weatherization. We're starting electrification work. And so Elevate is a pretty large nonprofit, and we've been doing kind of home rehab type programs for many years now. A little bit about myself. I've kind of grown with the organization. I've been at the organization over 15 years, and we have grown to quite a large organization, again, kind of with different specialties. But my specialty is public health. And so we've been able to grow the health work and really serve some of the basic needs that we run into with a lot of the owners and tenants that we work with before we can even bring them to, say, energy efficiency or electrification, right? Some of these bigger terms and kind of where maybe the future of the home repair work is, but a lot of times the people we're dealing with are really struggling, which is pretty basic. Keeping water out, keeping that home dry, making sure their mechanicals aren't causing any toxic, gases, and so a lot of our work focuses on kind of some of that the first step to taking them to the next step in our work at Elevate. So, anything else I can share, Andy?
No, I think that's super helpful.
Okay.
So, and before you dive into this presentation that I know you put a lot of work into, I just want to say to all the participants, after Amanda wraps up, we'll have some time at the end to come together and I'll answer any questions you might have about, the format of the program or things like that. So that will be covered. All right, go ahead, Amanda. Thank you.
Yeah. Give me 1 second to share my screen here. I just want to make it presentation mode. All right, can you guys see that? Can you guys hear me and can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. And I can't see you guys anymore, so if you're raising your hand, Andrew, if you could let me know. But if we can save questions till the end, that'd be great. If you have a really pressing question, I'm happy to take it in between. But let's try to get through this. And I'm sorry I missed introduction, so feel free to let me know who you are as well if you have a question. All right, so today's agenda is really focused on healthy homes, which again, in a lot of my work is kind of the step one for a lot of residents. A lot of folks are not dealing with healthy conditions, and conditions tend to continue to deteriorate because they're often like the biggest fixes: roofs, foundation work, new heating, cooling, water heaters. These are the big ticket items in your home, and you all as contractors know this. And again, I don't know your backgrounds, but that's really where people end up struggling to cover these costs, and conditions get worse. So I did want to tell you a little bit more about Elevate, just kind of our mission, focus in on indoor air quality, mold, and lead paint, and then kind of step back into kind of higher level of what it is just in general to help maintain a healthy home and really where we're trying to help our residents get to. So a little bit about Elevate. So we design and implement programs that reduce costs, protect people and the environment, and ensure the benefits of clean and efficient energy use reach those who need it the most. So let's jump into indoor air quality. Okay, so indoor air quality, I'm not sure if Michigan was impacted severely by the wildfires, but here in Chicago we were, and it was just a really interesting, the outside air is always considered really kind of the most polluted, but before those kind of wildfires, I would have said the indoor air really is. And so to see that kind of reverse was interesting for me. But what we're really talking about is the air quality within the building and in your structure, as well as how it kind of relates to health and comfort of the occupant. And so air quality is obviously super important for those who have respiratory conditions, which is often in our population as well. The health effects of indoor air pollutants may be kind of experienced like soon to kind of exposure and kind of just over the years because we spend so much time indoors. And we'll talk about kind of what impacts that air quality and or what we do to help homeowners kind of improve that. And we spend 90% of our time indoors. So if our indoor air quality is poor, and then more recently our external air was really poor, typically, we're then kind of putting the population with kind of the biggest risk factors with asthma or COPD really at a really big risk. And so focusing on improving that indoor air can really be helpful for residents. So indoor air quality has numerous things impact the air quality, and it's typically around how we live and what we do in our space, in our homes, even in offices, for example. Whether we have pets, if we have carpeting on the floor, and or if pollen gets, tracked in, if we have a window open. Mold is in everybody's home, but just a little bit of moisture just really can help it grow. If we smoke inside of our homes, mildew, which is common in a damp basement or a bathroom. How we store our chemicals really also, and the chemicals we choose to purchase, really can impact air quality. Cooking our food as well. So I recently bought an indoor filter for my home and just plugged it in. And every time I cook, the air quality goes almost to zero every time I cook. So really fascinating for me, knowing this, right? But actually seeing it in my own home was pretty shocking. And that was just the last few weeks. And that's why there's vents on top of stoves, right? But not everyone has access to that. And especially, at least in the Chicago area, I know Michigan, older housing, that tends to be an issue. Dust mites, something we all deal with, but just lives in our bedding and our sheets and pillows and all that. Gross little critters, but we all have them and they're invisible. But they do cause a lot of issues. Allergen, it's a big allergen for folks. And then pets, I think I mentioned right at the beginning. So lots of things impacting our air quality. And so we'll keep going through that. Okay, so ways to improve air quality. So there's source control. So the most effective way is to improve your air quality is eliminating individual sources of pollution. And so we'll talk about what that will be in the next slide. Or to reduce their emissions. Ventilation improvements. This is often an improvement we're doing in homes, adding ventilations to bathrooms, kitchens. Sometimes we've added it to the whole home, but we tend to focus in those two areas, and kind of lowering those concentrations of air pollutants in the home and increasing the amount of outdoor air coming indoors. Air cleaners. So this is what I recently purchased, but a portable air filter, cleaner. And then if you have a furnace, doing a HVAC filters that have allergen and kind of pollen filters, like you can kind of go higher MERV rating on them, and actually it's a great opportunity that like tenants can actually take advantage. We don't always have a ton of opportunities for tenants. But these last two are, something that they can just plug in and take with them to their next location. We typically recommend putting something like that in their bedroom. And then if the unit that they're in does have a furnace, it's great to get them some higher quality filters than their landlord typically provides. So we like to try to find opportunities, although we primarily work with homeowners, to work with tenants as well. So VOCs, a term you are probably familiar with, a lot of times around paint, but it's actually in a ton of products. And it's basically just an off-gassing of products that we bring into our homes, and the chemicals that were used on that product. So dry cleaning, a lot of VOCs, any new furniture, new rug that you purchase, kind of that smell of a new piece of furniture or new carpet is really, I think of that as VOCs. Anything we spray into the air cleaners. And then depending again on the cleaning products, we do a lot of education around cleaning products, especially for those kind of more vulnerable, and really typically go towards greener products, or products that maybe reduce the use of bleach or reduce the use of Febreze, right? Finding ways to maybe use it every once in a while versus all the time. because we know people like their products. So it's really hard to make that change. And people like that smell of clean. So that's a really hard one to change, but we try. But really, the biggest thing here is basically anything you bring into the home really is kind of off-gassing and providing VOCs into your air quality. And that is, again, a source control. So that's if we can pick products or maybe let things, maybe not bring in your dry cleaning right away, but maybe there's like a hallway they can sit in, like outside of your main airway. But this is kind of a big education piece that we do with folks. Pest control. So another way of source control. And so that's a big focus as well of ours. We end up in homes where I'm on the call, sorry. So we end up in a lot of homes that need pest management. And as you all know, that is a huge allergen for folks. Of course, typically homeowners might go to spraying Raid or using other products that would only exacerbate their asthma, for example, or reduce the air quality inside. And so we really go for this method of, it's called IPM, and basically it is looking to utilize kind of the life cycle and also like what we know about that pest. For example, if you have mice, what we know about their life cycle, again, how they enter into a home, how they feed, what they feed on, and using that to the advantage of the pest management company. So you're using then typically more traps than like, I guess you wouldn't use a spray for a mouse, but just really trying to find ways to not increase and kind of take advantage of the things that we know. And really kind of monitor the situation and continue kind of evaluating, like we're not really just done with a one-time, you capture 10 mice, you're done. No, we all know that it takes a lot more than that. And so really finding ways to deal with fewer pesticides is the goal. So this was my recent experiment in my home where again, I do education on this, but had not experienced it myself.
Hang on, we can't hear you. Can folks online hear?
Yes, I can.
Oh.
Yes, I can.
That's fine.
Yeah, we can hear. I think she muted it or
Actually, Amanda's doing a great job.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're back. Sorry about that.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. I won't touch
No, I think
anything.
it's on our end.
Okay. And yeah, you might hear my kid. He's right here too. So, and so again, this was the experiment that I recently, not knowing, did in my home. Source control is also stoves. And so actually at my organization, we've been really on the electrification route. And it's still kind of a budding science, and people are just figuring it out. Still, again, I don't know if any of you all are electricians or have knowledge here. But what we're really looking at with stoves is kind of the nitrogen dioxide and that causing a lot of indoor air pollution from gas stoves specifically. And so research has shown basically that low levels of NO2 exposure are really dangerous, especially again to vulnerable populations. And so basically you can kind of see, so if you look at, if you look at this chart here, you kind of can see the NO2 emissions that come from baking a cake and just the different items you might cook on your stove. But gas stoves have around 50%, ranging up to 400% higher levels of NO2 than homes that cook with electric stoves. Again, a lot of us, at least in the Chicago area, do not have electric stoves. I'm not sure what's common in Detroit, but I would guess gases. And so, and so those concentrations can exceed kind of the US outdoor pollution standards. So every evening you're cooking or you're cooking up a big meal for Christmas or any holiday, you can kind of see you're really raising those levels of NO2 in your home and really creating poor indoor air quality. So we did a study a few years back and installed various ventilation systems in homes. There were 3 different types that we installed. I learned a ton. Again, you all may have expertise here, but I'll explain them just generally here. So continuous exhaust basically is just a bath fan. So sucking air from inside, going out to the exterior, just kind of one direction. And so again, typical even in a kitchen, over your stove, or in a bathroom. So those are called continuous exhaust only. And so what we were testing was, can we install these cheaper systems, which is this type 1, or did we need to install a type 3, which is like kind of the most in type 2, which tend to be more expensive. 2 and 3 were more expensive than 1. And so the second system that we installed was a CFIS, which is where we used the existing furnace, poked a hole into it, and vented it outside. So this piece was the CFIS. This was existing in the home. This was their furnace and their ductwork. And so we were bringing in fresh air, right, from outside and putting it into their home. And so that was a different way where we could take advantage of the system and the ductwork that they had. And it actually wasn't as expensive. The most expensive system was this last one, and it was really the only option for homes with boilers. But we had to basically install its own system just to bring in air and to vent out air. And so that is all the system did. It was not a heating or cooling element to it. So we did install these in some, but we did find that even with installing the bath, can we mute all the mics? I'm getting a lot of thanks. So we did find that the cheapest systems here, number 1, was enough. Just kind of installing like maybe a $700 to $900 bath fan and kitchen fan was significant impact on the air quality. And so that was like good enough to really help the residents that we worked with. We did not have to do this entire system. It's a great system, of course, if you can afford it, but it wasn't essential to spend like $3,000 in a home. And so that was a really good thing to learn with our system. The thing we learned about type 2, even though it wasn't expensive, people complained about cold air. And so it was not as successful and could not run at the speeds we needed it to run to really bring in enough air. And mostly in the winter, right? The summer, it was harder for their cooling system to keep up. So we learned a lot about that system, just that it wasn't great maybe for the Chicago area. Probably has great for somewhere else, some other temperature. And so with that project, along with kind of what we do again for tenants and or homeowners, is we typically, if their furnace allows, again, if you all are HVAC specialists, you'll know you can kill your furnace if you have an older furnace. So you wouldn't give this to folks with older furnaces or, but if somebody has a new furnace, giving them a better quality air filter for their system is typically a really big improvement to their home. And so furnace filters are rated. There's MERV ratings for them. These are like the cheapest, kind of just make sure large things don't come through. Important. But if you're really looking to catch allergens and other HEPA product, you could look for HEPA products, which are high efficiency particulate air filters. But also my portable one that I plugged in also has a HEPA air filter. And so many products can have this if you don't have a furnace, but it does capture a lot of the airborne particles and kind of the smallest microns. So really good for indoor air quality. So I purchased something like this again for myself. This is something we give to tenants and homeowners and suggest that they plug it in their bedroom. And now I might suggest you just plug it in your living room and see how much the cooking stuff really impacted. And then again, these are the furnace filters. This is a MERV 11, which is what we gave everyone in the study to test out. So I'm going to jump into mold. I don't know if there's any questions for that section or just keep going.
I think we're good over here.
Cool. So I want to also focus in on molds a little bit here. So mold is, normal, something we deal with indoors, outdoors, and it really just enters your home through little kind of pollen and kind of just spores that kind of come in through your windows, your doors as you open them and walk in and out. Even your heating and air conditioning systems might pull it in. And it really just grows with just a little bit of moisture, as we all know. We've all probably experienced mold here or there. Kind of around leaks. Obviously, some of the most major damage we see is when somebody has the roof issue, windows that leak, a plumbing issue where the pipe has had a slow leak, and where any kind of flooding has happened, say a basement, for example, and so we run into this issue a lot in homes, and people really don't know what to do. And, the biggest tip is to act as fast as you can to clean things up. But we know a lot of these residents aren't able to or aren't as knowledgeable as we are about homes. And so, doing some education is important. And so a lot of times people see a stain and they'll just think it's a little stain, but when we open it up, they'll see kind of how bad the mold issue really is. And so a lot of people will talk about some of these symptoms they're having and not realizing it's connected to, the mold in that wall, because it's just a little, say, 1-inch spot on the other side of the wall, right, that they're able to see. And so people aren't able to or aren't aware that the problem is typically larger than what you can just see on the outside. And so we run into residents who have issues, or their allergies act up, or they have asthma attacks in their homes because there's most likely a mold issue. So kind of just stuffy nose, wheezing, red and itchy eyes or skin. And so, again, it triggers those with asthma and with allergies. So here we focus on controlling the humidity. I've walked into homes where they're running like 3 humidifiers, and I'm usually like, what are we doing? And they're like, oh, it's for the plants. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But we really try to focus, again, education on like no higher than 50%. And so we'll get people like little, there's things you can just put on the fridge that just kind of monitor the humidity, maybe running 1 and not 3 humidifiers. But really in the winter, that's where we run into people running the kind of external humidifiers. And then in the summer, we run into people who don't have air conditioning or don't run it all the time. So obviously air conditioners help cut down on the humidity in the home. And so that's actually helpful, but we know those products are expensive to run. So people kind of, just a little more education is helpful. It doesn't mean they can necessarily change their behavior here, but it is just helpful for them to know if they're struggling with kind of the humidity and or just kind of mold inside the home, that those 2 items could help depending on the season. Ventilation helps, just kind of keeping the air moving out, kitchens and bathrooms as we focus in, as well as making sure your like clothes dryer is vented to the exterior. often we get to homes and people haven't realized that it's fallen out or it's crushed or, whatever the situation might be, but that is not venting properly and getting the moisture from your dryer outside. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. And then bulk water issues, again, major roof, wall, or plumbing issues. We see very often and then tend to see pretty bad mold situations based on those issues. So window ACs, good enough. We like to include those when we can, depending on the funder, with health and safety. Older folks need it, people with asthma. There's a need for air conditioning, especially as the temperatures we're seeing are much higher. And so from us, our perspective, it's a health and safety issue to not have an air conditioner. And so a dehumidifier also, you can have a portable one. And we'll use that with tenants or homeowners in the basement, or tenants, they're smaller ones for a bathroom if we're not allowed to install a bathroom fan. Just anything to try to help pull the moisture out. And kind of dispose of it properly. And, it fills up a tank, they can dump it. It's better than it kind of just sticking in the bathroom and causing tons of mildew, which is what we see often. I think I've talked about this. Oh, I just want to focus in on not a recirculating kitchen fan like at my home. It doesn't do anything, which I knew, but again, my recent experiment confirmed. So we're typically looking to vent to the exterior. So important distinction there. Roof, foundation issues, again, with climate change and more water, we're going to have better, stronger roofs and basements that can really withstand the amount of water that's going to come our way on these major storm events and rain events that we have. And then we like to educate homeowners on what to do when there is mold growth. Again, it's normal, right? We all probably have experienced it, but it's really about how you handle the situation. So biggest thing is addressing where the moisture came from, cleaning it up and drying it out within 24 to 48 hours. I mean, I'm not sure people realize how quickly mold starts to grow. Adding mold inhibitors to paint, and then kind of using, there's like mold killing products. There's like primers and maybe sprays that you can put, I think even generally I wouldn't say bleach, but bleach and water. I think things like that can really be considered kind of a mold killing product. As well as kind of removing and replacing carpets and or upholstery. If your basement's flooded, suggesting that residents don't put carpeting back in their basement, right? And so we've also seen like carpeting in bathrooms, and so just those are generally areas where there is just a lot of moisture. So maybe having not having things like carpeting in there would be helpful. So this was one of the homes we've been to, and this was like what we saw on the exterior, but the mold problem was significant and down this wall. And our asthma patient slept over here on the, just across this hall. It was a little hallway. And so of course his asthma was very, exacerbated by this mold that, was this entire wall. So, washing it with soap and water is doable. Again, avoiding some harsher chemicals and any protective gear. Of course, we want to remind contractors, homeowners to wear. And then if mold is larger, we do recommend they hire a contractor and or we try to hire a contractor or a professional mold remediator to help address the issues. But the EPA says anyone can address 10 square feet and under in their own home. So I'm going to jump into lead paint. Another area I wanted to focus in on, and then we'll kind of step back and talk about healthy homes in general. So I'm not sure everyone's familiarity here, or if we have any environmental contractors on the line, but We deal with lead all the time here in Chicago, older housing, and any kind of repairs we're trying to do typically, sorry, I keep messing up here, typically impacts the paint in a home, and so then we end up disturbing lead paint. And then we've also tried to focus in a lot of our funding on homes that have children, not just we're open to private residences, but we really focus in on home daycares because they tend to have up to 12 kids every day, 6 a.m., possibly, till 6 p.m. or later. And that's who really we see harmed by lead. And so we really see a lot of damage to brain and nervous systems, slowed growth and development for children, learning and behavioral problems, and hearing and speech problems. And so those kind of impacts cause a lower IQ, decreased ability to pay attention, and underperformance in school. And so those that are at most risk are those low-income children that live in older housing. And so there are a lot of children at risk in our area. And it's a big focus of ours at our organization. So children can kind of be impacted by lead in many ways. And my team focuses primarily on paint, but Elevate as an organization focuses on paint, but also on pipes. And so we really try to, lead paint is still the number one reason for children being poisoned, but there are other reasons. Number two is water and the pipes that we have pretty consistently throughout the United States still. A lot of cities have grand plans to remove them in the next 50 years, but yeah, we'll be drinking water from lead pipes for a while from now. So, anything, we do a lot of education for residents on lead and water, but also the lead paint and how to kind of treat it. And then there's lead in other items, but we won't get into that tonight. And so this is why we see a lot of, lead paint. 1978 is the year that lead paint wasn't used anymore, but there is much housing before that, right? We all know the housing stock. I know Detroit is old. I know Chicago's old cities, and we know most of the housing was built before. So it is a huge housing stock that is dripping in lead paint. So although we think the issue is old and the issue has been addressed, it still remains an issue and children are continuing to be poisoned. And so we run into daycares that have chipping lead paint, as you can see here. These are my pictures. It's, people with the biggest hearts and their own business, but people don't, these homes get qualified and they don't realize the biggest hazard here is really this chipping paint. Windows are a huge expense to replace, 15, 20 grand. So we can understand why people aren't able to prioritize the windows, but it is something that we do, we are able to come in and help address these hazards. And we typically find paint on old wood windows, doors, back porches, exterior components of a home, so like under stairs and garages, anything that has to kind of withstand weather and or friction, because it was considered the most durable paint out there. So think about where more durable paint is, that's where you'll find lead paint. And so since you all are contractors, I've put some resources around kind of certifications at the end. And so you can learn a little bit more about kind of the certifications that are needed. There are different levels of remediation of lead. And so the links will be in this presentation. And then just lead poisoning is 100% avoidable. I'm sorry, 1 second. on my face. And so lead poisoning is 100%. So, lead poison is 100% avoidable, and it's really, we're dealing with an issue from the past, and it has not completely been handled. So it continues to flare up as a major issue. So let's jump into some basics on kind of how to maintain a healthy home. And so some of the stuff I've touched on and went into a little bit more depth was these kind of 8 principles of a healthy home. I'm not sure if folks are familiar with this, but this is kind of how we focus in our and kind of direct our work. Keeping homes dry, clean, pest-free, safe, contaminant-free, ventilated, maintained, and then thermally controlled.
Mama, how do you turn the Bluetooth thing on?
Just leave it off. So principle 1 is dry. And so preventing water from entering in your home is, key. Once it's entered, it's a nightmare, right? We're dealing with more rain, so preventing rainwater from entering your home due to poor drainage. There's a lot of kind of green infrastructure that is possible in homes, rain gardens. There are better drainage systems that you can have under the ground. But it requires money and knowledge that those things exist, right? Even just regrading your home if you have your land sloped to you, if you have too much concrete like we have in the city. We had one home where there was concrete from one neighbor's house to the other, and technically was this neighbor's property, but this neighbor was flooding, but he didn't care. So, there was really little we could do, but all we had to just create a little green area or slant it a little differently, his concrete, and even have his gutters extend out past his home. The neighbor had no interest, but just so much concrete, we're not allowing the water to drain, even when it can drain properly, causing flooding for our neighbors. So water issues tend to be kind of neighborhood, and so they're, kind of neighborhood based, home to home based too. It's a really complicated issue, especially when we're talking about green infrastructure. And then having solid roofs and solid interior plumbing, and addressing any plumbing leaks as soon as you notice them. Principle 2, clean. So controlling the source of dust and contaminants, creating smooth and cleanable surfaces, reducing clutter, and use of effective wet cleaning.
Mom, do you know how to turn this thing back on? Can you just tell me how you did it?
I'm busy. Thank you.
Can you tell me how you did it?
Okay, so principle 3 is pest-free. So we talked about this in depth, but really the use of sticky traps and baits in closed containers, sealing cracks and openings throughout the home so pests can't get in. So that's been an interesting thing for us this year. We hire a lot of pest management, but they don't always go and address the openings in homes. And so we've been working with some smaller pest management companies who have been willing to add to their scope and actually go that next step, right? It's dealing with the pest in the home and then going to the exterior and then like maybe the basement and interior and really filling in those holes and cracks with kind of pest resistant things to fill the gap. So it's kind of a new venture for us to kind of extend our IPM management for residents. And then another thing we focused in a lot is on storage of food And so we deal with a lot of homes that have a lot of stuff in them, or a lot of people living in there. And so the food management and the amount of clutter in a home really can impact how well pest management will or won't work. And so we often have to work with residents and educate them on the importance of kind of food storage. And then we may even suggest or purchase like Rubbermaid containers and products and trashes that close. Just those things will make a big difference with residents. So principle 4, safe. So storing and properly labeling items, keeping poison out of children's hands, securing any kind of rugs and play areas, and installing smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, and keeping a fire extinguisher. That is part of most of our programs, if not all. We make sure to install a smoke, a CO, if not multiple in a home, right, based on the directions there, and a fire extinguisher. So really important to include some basic health and safety for residents where possible. Contaminant free, we already spoke about kind of lead, but keeping kind of doors and windows clean, using a wet cleaning approach. So when you have lead dust and or just a lot of dust in a home, you don't want to sweep it and we don't want to brush it dry. So we typically suggest, any kind of wet wipe or Swiffer where it is a wet product and you're wiping it versus anything that you're kind of just moving dust around. So a lot of education there is important as well, especially for lead. And then radon is something we do as well here and there. It's not a major issue here in the Chicago area, but it's a naturally occurring gas. And you can find it in homes. It kind of enters through crawl spaces and soil and different cracks in the foundation. 6, ventilated. We talked about this excessively, but really improving that, bringing in that fresh air supply into your home. It really improves that respiratory health. Maintain. So principle 7. So poorly maintained homes are at risk for moisture and pest problems. Deteriorated lead paint in older homes is the primary cause of lead poisoning, which affects some 535,000 U.S. children. So that's still a significant amount of children being poisoned. So inspecting, cleaning, repairing your home routinely, and taking care of minor repairs before they become major repairs. So not something that all of our population can do, but something that we hope to, kind of share that knowledge with. And then the last principle is principle 8, thermally controlled, kind of our energy efficiency work. But really homeowners are at risk for various health problems with kind of prolonged exposure to heat, excessive heat or cold when their homes aren't maintaining adequate temperatures. So, reducing the amount of energy, water, and utility bills, lowering those, it helps everybody, right? It's a way to sell weatherization, even though it may not be a resident's primary interest. Saving money on bills is typically of interest to most people, right? So finding ways to sell your trade, not only for their health benefits, but just kind of any cost benefit you can provide as well is super helpful. But typically, again, homes are dealing with major health and safety issues. Once we get there, we can then bring them to energy efficiency and weatherization, because you can make people pretty sick if you were to just seal them into their moldy, poorly ventilated home, right? So once we can get them there, we can bring them this principle 8 by doing some proper weatherization, installing insulation, air sealing, weather stripping, and then maintaining kind of heating and cooling systems in their home. Let's see here. And that's it. Thank you all. I'm open for questions if people have questions.
Yeah, we got a question over here.
Just trying to see, do you have to be, is Michigan certification allow you to work in Chicago, or do you need to be certified as a state of Illinois?
Depends on what's your like primary trade.
If you're a GC, or either if you have lead or any kind of state certified from Michigan, are
Yeah.
you able to use those in Illinois, or do you have to be state certified in Illinois?
Yeah, so with GC license, it's usually the city, and so the city of Chicago has a GC license. I don't think they would recognize one from Michigan, but some of our cities will recognize each other. So Cook County and the city of Chicago recognize each other's GC licenses. I know lead is state by state, and some of the states do recognize each other. I don't know. I do believe Michigan and Illinois do not recognize each other license-wise. Yeah, I would say everything's more probably state by state, but that's a good question. But I do think things like BPI, which are the energy efficiency kind of trainings, are not state by state. So.
Cool. All right, looks like we have a question from Ashton Bennett. Go ahead, Ashton.
Yes, Amanda. To piggyback off what he was asking for as doing business in the state of Illinois, from what I was understanding, if I form as a firm here in the state of Michigan, I still would have to get the EPA firm certification to do business in the state of Illinois. Is that correct? And to contract with you guys as well?
And that's RRP, right? If you're a firm.
I have RRP as well as the lead licenses as well. So supervisor and
license? Okay.
Yeah, I got all three. So and then now I'm in the process of certifying as a firm now with the state of Michigan, and then the next step would be getting the EPA firm certification.
Yeah, I know there was a big push in Michigan for lead. Have you connected with any of those programs? And I'm trying to remember. I think it was the state of Michigan was doing a lot of training because there was a big need. I can look into it. And yeah, each state some have reciprocal kind of, but I don't know that off the top of my head. I'll look into it around lead and RRP and GC license. And I'll send that to you, Andrew. And you can share with folks. Any other questions?
No?
Cool. Well, I did put some certifications and just, again, some good education. I'm not sure if Healthy Homes is an interest. There's a great training, virtual. I don't think it's free, but it's not as much as other certifications. Really just kind of doing all this, but at a higher level, right, for contractors. And I know you all are contractors, but kind of if you're interested in taking it to that next level, it's a good course. I think it's 3 or 5 days of your time. RRP, lead abatement, asbestos, energy efficiency certifications. And then these might be more resources for any homeowners you might work with or clients that you have, if they're interested or need more support in other healthy home resources. Great. Well, thank you all for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. And if you think of any
Thank you.
questions, yeah, I'm happy to take them through Andrew and.
Great job, Amanda.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Hey, one quick question, Amanda, or Andrew. Would the slide be available in the links for later if we need to access them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll share the slides, and then, like Amanda said, she's going to do some research on some of the questions, and I'll make sure everyone gets all those answers. And yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. I appreciate you.
Okay, you all enjoy the course.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, have a good.
All right, so now I want to check in really quickly because I know we're a little bit over time here, but I know people probably have questions about the course and like resources and things like that. So do folks want to hang out here and just like have that conversation now?
I'm gonna step out on the balcony real quick.
Yeah. So if anyone needs to like take a quick like bathroom break or something, we'll like be started in just like 2 seconds here as soon as Zach comes back from the balcony. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then for the folks who aren't here in person, I'm collecting W-9s right now. So if you can fill out a digital one, if you're not going to be here in person, then I can get everyone paid.
All right, then Andrew, you received mine, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, all right, very good. How did you guys in Elevate connect?
Yeah, so Elevate was connected to the initial grant that was written for this training program. They've run similar programs in Chicago and Illinois. And they're trying to get into Detroit. So I kind of inherited this when I joined Detroiters working for about.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I just looked on their website. The organization seems like it's powerful. I don't know how long they've been around, but I see they do have a lot of resources.
Yeah, they're definitely doing a lot of work, and they're growing in Michigan too. I think they're even hiring for like a nonprofit coordinator type job.
Okay.
What was that?
Yeah, another organization here called DHHCAP. Well,
Yeah.
that'll be on the mission.
All right. So yeah, were there other questions that people had?
You had mentioned opportunities to get hands-on training in some of those fields, such as lead removal and things like that. And so I was just kind of curious as to how that would work. If you guys have like contractors on list that do the work that we shadow or something like that. Sure that works.
Yeah. So could y'all hear me? It was basically with respect to being able to like shadow people on the job, how that's going to work. And my plan is to draw upon the expertise of everyone here. So for example, like I think it was Ashton, you mentioned that like, you're already certified to be an inspector, and you have some of those certifications. So I think people in this program, the folks who are already doing that work, and then that would count as like,
Look, you just close to a machine.
That you're expected to be, like engaged in training. But then there's also, an opportunity to go and get certified. So it wouldn't just necessarily be the shadowing part. It would also be DWPA paying for you to go through a lead certification course. And we would do a similar thing for people who were interested in general
That program.
My job, sorry. You don't get your job.
If everybody's aware of that program, but as far as I saw, that was one of the cheaper ones. And it's accredited and everything. So I don't know if anybody wanted the resources on that. The general contractors course that I'm taking right now, I did a little bit of research. It was the cheapest one that I found, so I didn't know if anybody needed resources on finding the course.
That's the one with the city?
No, it's, I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head, but it's a private program that's accredited.
Yeah, so the other tool that I've started sort of working on is just like a list of resources. And that was also it was linked in the welcome document. So as people, like your course is like one of the links there as somewhere, if anyone wants to take an online general contractor pre-license exam course, that sounds like a really good option for people. And so maybe we can also use that document as a way to collaborate in terms of like, oh, I really want to shadow this skill. Maybe we can I'll add a section in there and you can write, like what you're looking to take. And then maybe someone, if you say, oh, like I feel comfortable doing HVAC. I've actually got a job for that coming up. You can shadow me on this. We can do that sort of thing where we're all sort of helping each other out with this. So I'll add a section onto that resource list for sort of like Skillshare and shadowing opportunities. And also, if you know someone who's doing that might not be a part of this program, we have a budget for mentors to work with you as well. So because everyone here is already getting paid that $3.5 grand, this would be, considered part of your job, right? Like where you all are filling out W-9s, this is your job for now. And then if you were to work with someone because you're not offered it within this circle, we would help them get paid for their time as well. And that resource document, I'll also make sure I'm putting in all the links from like the presentation today, so that way you can look at the different resources that Amanda was sharing.
Can't have nobody shadowing you on a lead project. You have to be certified.
Oh, really? Okay.
You can't even get across the area of the ocean.
Oh, that's
So
good.
you can teach on the job. I'm certified for that. Certified.
They gotta be
You have
certified.
your workers. You have your workers.
As a worker, they gotta be certified.
But you can do that on the job.
That was
Can I say something?
Another 5 years, just right there.
I was told that nobody in their area, right? Nobody working there except for workers that's certified and the supervisor. That's it.
But you can certify them as a regulator.
Yeah, but they're not as a lead worker. They're doing lead work. Actual lead work. You can't certify. It's real tricky.
Yeah. You can teach your workers. Your GC, you can teach your workers on the job.
Yeah.
How to handle it. How to
Take the aerial, right?
Right.
You can't go and work in a site area unless they're certified. That's what I was told.
You can certify. I hear you. That gives you a little.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if we can get some follow up on that and just make sure we're all looking at the same information.
No, yeah, I mean, that's my understanding was.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's good to like discuss these things and make sure we're all on the same page.
Oh, no, yeah.
Hey, Andrew.
Yeah.
Hey, just real quick. So yeah, I already emailed you an example. I don't know. I mean, when you get a chance tomorrow or whatever, I sent you a course. Maybe you could take a look at it when you get a chance.
Okay.
For the general contractors. So that's the first thing. The second question that I got, second thing that I have is for the 32-hour requirement. What's the deadline that we have to complete the 32 hours by?
By the end of August.
Okay.
Just to piggyback off of what you guys were saying in there, he was actually right. The state of Michigan, if you don't have a worker's license or a supervisor's license, you can't come onto that site for lead. You can't come on. And even when the state come by, that's really the state of Michigan's number one problem for us lead is to begin with. It's not the people that can't do it, it's the people who aren't licensed to do it. And when the state come by to check on this site, they ask you for your license and your P card, then you don't have it, then it's a fine for everybody.
EPA, I think, was certified them to work on something. The EPA, but not the lead or the harmonics.
I'm talking about EPA.
Yeah, I'm talking about lead. I'm talking about actual lead certification.
Cool, that's helpful, Ashton. Thank you for that.
That's why
So people are.
I got my supervisor's license, so of course I have to know that.
I do too, bro. I do too. That's what I'm saying. So I know you have to be certified to work in lead on lead jobs, bro. Even the workers have to be certified.
Right.
So nobody can't shout you on the lead.
Right. When I took my state test, they said that's the #1 reason in Michigan why the lead work won't get done. It's not that people won't do the work, it's people can't get the test, can't pass the state test to get the supervisor's license. And so when the state come out to the job on the job site, people scrambling, trying to run and hide, and and they ain't supposed to be on the site. So that's why.
They are paying you to take the test too, though, for free, of course, though, through the state, though. So they will pay.
The state will pay for you to take the course and the test. Yeah.
For free.
So I feel like that would be.
$550.
Yeah, if folks are interested in doing that too, and there's issues with payments, that's something we can definitely support. Right now, it looks like we have about a little over $1,000 per person in terms of like how much we can pay for certifications and courses and trainings and stuff like that. And depending on how much y'all rely on each other for some of that like mentorship opportunities, we might have a little bit more or a little bit less, depending on how many mentor stipends we have to pay out as well.
Excuse me, Andrew. You said it's about how much per person?
It's about $1,000 per person.
Okay, thank you.
The GC plans, I think they charge about $750.
Yeah, I think yours was about $570.
Yeah, but that was with the textbook and everything, all the materials.
Yeah. And yeah, like if you do have other courses or certifications you want to take, let me know. Pretty flexible with all this stuff. Clearly the Healthy Homes framework covers a ton of different things, and that's kind of the framework that we're going off of here. So as long as you can make the case that it's related to one of those things, I think we'd be happy to support it. And yeah, other questions?
Where you get your training from? Where you get your training from?
I have a trainer right here.
No, I'm saying what school?
DHS out of Chicago.
All right, if that's all for now, then in terms of timeline, I think we can get checks cut next week as long as everyone gets their W-9s into me. And then you'll just get paid in full for the whole course. Keep it simple for everyone. And I'll get to work on that document. I'll have it updated tomorrow, send out a follow-up email. How did the sound work in terms of like the hybrid in-person stuff today? I think we had some issues, but it seems like we sort of figured it out. Everyone online smooth? Cool.
Yeah, I think for the first class, the first session of this whole thing, I think it went fairly well. I mean, obviously moving forward, we all can help you to work out the kinks, or give you, I guess at the end of the class you'll have something for us to, as far as a survey or something. So for the first session, I believe it overall it went fairly well.
Great. And in terms of like, yeah, if y'all want to share any feedback now, I'm also happy to receive it. And that could be about how the first class went or the presenter. I'll send out the survey afterwards too. So.
Everything's good.
Cool. So I know we're over time. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everyone for being here and being a part of this program. Like I said, it's the first time doing it, so we're figuring it out together. And I'll see you this time tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, gentlemen. Take care.
Have a good one.